locked in.
Look at what we have here, folks.
To the only show that matters.
The cream of the crop.
Duke loves wrestling.
And there is no one that does it better than
your host.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
The Duke.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
And that's the bottom line, 'cause Stone Cold said so.
We're back with the impressions again? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, what'd you think of that one?
You sounded like Stone Cold Steve Austin's grandmother. You kind of were doing like an old lady voice.
Oh, man. We got a tough crowd here tonight.
What if I did one of my favorite actors' birthdays today, Sean Connery, Sir Sean Connery.
Jesus.
Now, that's an accent. That's an impression, my friend.
Is this the nonsense you're going to do now?
Well, if I have to deal with your nonsense, guess what? You're going to have to deal with mine.
Oh, boy. All right.
That's just the way it is, Jack.
Welcome back to Duke Loves Rasslin'. I am the Duke, and yes, I enjoy doing pro wrestler impersonations.
And again, you are the only one that enjoys it.
Yeah, well, hey, no matter what my illustrious producer, the Boston bad boy on Mike Pelosi, says, I think I'm good at it, so I'm going to keep doing it.
Hey, you know what? You keep working at that, because practice makes perfect.
Oh, boy.
And boy, do you need it.
Whatever, wise guy. Folks, we're so glad that you were able to enjoy us for this episode this time here. We have a new set of fan-submitted questions, a.k.a. Ask Duke. We also have one of the most respected and requested guests making her Duke Loves Wrestling return. I'm talking about Chelsea, a.k.a. the Wrestling Femme. She's going to be reviewing the wild and crazy SummerSlam weekend with me. Man, let me tell you something. It was eventful, all right? All that plus the latest edition of Run the Ropes. But before we get to any of that, I have to remind you folks to check out bookprowrestlers.com. That's bookprowrestlers.com. A reminder to all of our listeners who are going to be in the San Antonio, Texas area Sunday, September 11th. Steve Stasiak gave me a heads up. He let me know that bookprowrestlers.com is a contributing partner, get this, to the Great San Antonio Bash. That's right. This is the event that you don't want to miss, folks. We're going to have Kurt Angle, Jerry the King Lawler, Booker T, and so many more. Head over to bookprowrestlers.com for more info. See you at the matches. All right, it's time to run the ropes. We're talking the 5 top stories in the world of professional wrestling. Let's go. Has the Selfie King out of Middle Kingdom Wrestling China had a change of heart? For the last few weeks, Selfie King, one of the most well-known heels in all of Chinese pro wrestling, has spent more time trying to appeal to the fans. Now listen, here's a guy that usually only cares about himself, but now he wants to be a celebrity. Let me tell you something, Selfie King. I think you should spend less time hamming it up with the fans and more time focusing on trying to win wrestling matches. Folks, shoot me a message on Facebook and on Twitter at Duke Loves Wrestling. Let me know what you think. Speaking of Middle Kingdom Wrestling China, November 18th and 19th is the 2-day spectacular. We're talking WrestleStar 3. It's happening live at the Pattaya Boxing World Stadium in Thailand. This place is the big-time venue over there, okay? You got to visit MiddleKingdomWrestling.com for ticket info. TNA has a new president. That's right. Dixie Carter has officially been replaced by Billy Corgan. Yeah, that's right. We're talking about that Billy Corgan, the lead singer of the rock group Smashing Pumpkins. Is this officially the end of the Dixie Carter era in TNA, both on screen and behind the scenes? Keep your ears locked to the Duke Love Wrestling podcast to find out. Shinsuke Nakamura is officially the NXT Heavyweight Champion. The King of Strong Style, who many consider one of the top 3 wrestlers in the world for the past 5 years. He defeated Samoa Joe during the NXT TakeOver Brooklyn Part 2 over a SummerSlam weekend. Who will Nakamura's next opponent be? Keep your ears locked here, folks. Okay? We'll keep you posted. Speaking of SummerSlam weekend, there were many reported injuries for that 2 days, okay? Samoa Joe had a dislocated jaw. Sasha Banks with a significant back issue. Randy Orton got his head busted open. Finn Balor with a torn labrum. That's a shoulder. Is this the latest WWE issue here? Okay. Do they need to change their in-ring style? Or are folks just exaggerating and this is just the way it goes in pro wrestling? Shoot me a message over at Duke Loves Rasslin on Facebook and on Twitter. Let me know what you think, folks. And that concludes this week's Run the Ropes. Up next, it's what you've all been waiting for. The return of Chelsea, the wrestling Femme. And also our SummerSlam weekend review.
You're locked in to Duke Loves Wrestling. Join Duke's Wrestling crew on Facebook for more exclusive content. Now, back to the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've been asking, you've been pleading for us to bring back Chelsea, the wrestling Femme, and I am so excited we have her on the line right now. But I'm going to tell you right now, okay, before we even get to that, the Boston bad boy, Iron Mike Pelosi.
Yeah.
Last week, you had the audacity to challenge me on my SummerSlam weekend picks.
Well, you were getting a little mouthy about it, so I figured we had to have some sort of accountability.
You
finally, once and for all.
You didn't believe in the Duke. You didn't believe in my wrestling prowess, be able to pick winners.
What I can't believe is that you agreed to this, and now you have Chelsea on the line, hanging on for us, and now we're going to have to do this by the maths and go through the whole thing, because I'm not going to let this point go away.
Oh, well, hey, listen, Chelsea's going to, hold on a moment here, because we need to go over the SummerSlam weekend picks and see how the Duke did.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't do awful, but it wasn't great.
Oh, boy.
All right, let's see. You weren't Kurt Hennig. Let me just put it to you that way.
Okay.
You weren't Mr. Perfect.
Oh, boy. Listen to this guy here. He's bringing up Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig. Talk about a legendary reference.
Well, I've got all these spreadsheets here, and I'm trying to figure out, I'm doing calculations on what you got right and what you got wrong. I really went into detail with this.
You got the protractor out.
That's right.
The whole nine
the abacus, everything. You did get more right than wrong, unfortunately. I hate to say this to you, but we're going to break it down case by case.
That's
so
right.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
Okay, here we go.
All right. The Revival defeated Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano for the NXT Tag Team Championship. All right, that's number one. You got that right.
That's right.
But let's move right along, because we don't need to worry about things that you got right. Asuka defeated Bayley for the NXT Women's Championship. That's two right for you. Anyway, moving on. Shinsuke Nakamura defeated Samoa Joe for the NXT Championship. Three right for you.
I'm batting 1,000, baby.
Yeah, you know what? I think the data seems to be messed up here, because three in a row. I don't remember that adding up when I did this earlier. We got to SummerSlam, though. That's right. And you did have some trouble there. New Day defeated Gallows and Anderson for the Tag Team Championship for the WWE. So that's a big fat goose egg for you there.
Hey, nobody's perfect.
No, you're not even close. So I think this is where your streak of three starts to get broken right here. And there's more. Yeah, Charlotte defeated Sasha Banks for the Women's Championship for the WWE as well. So that's 2 zeros, which adds up to 0.
Why do you sound so excited about the couple that I got wrong here?
Because you were so excited about the 3 you got right. Now you've got 2 wrong, and I'm dying to see where this ends up.
Here we go.
Maybe just a break even, and no one likes someone who's middling. Be a winner, be a loser, be a face, be a heel. Don't be in the middle.
You're a piece of work. You know that?
All right. You were right about this one, though. AJ Styles defeated John Cena.
Ha-ha!
4 right.
That's what you're talking about, Jack.
Yep, but Dolph Ziggler defeated by Dean Ambrose.
Hey.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've written that backwards. I got my maths wrong. Dean Ambrose defeated Dolph Ziggler. That's right.
Oh.
There's so much going on here. I got everything backwards.
Now, wait a second. We both picked Dolph Ziggler on that one.
Well, I did it only because I like his name.
Oh, boy.
I didn't have any kind of research and stats behind it like you do.
Go ahead. Say it.
You were wrong.
Oh, boy.
So, listen, everyone knows, at least they should, that I go with my gut on this thing. You're supposed to be the expert here. My picks mean absolutely nothing. I don't know why you're even wondering why we're even talking about that.
Supposed to be.
All right. I'll tone it down a little because you were right. Finn Balor defeated Seth Rollins.
That's right. That's 5 for the Duke.
Oh, all of a sudden you're writing it down. All of a sudden you're keeping track. I see. And to top it off there, Brock Lesnar defeated Randy Orton. So I think we did talk quite a bit about that. Mm-hmm. And I think we were both wrong about that one.
Okay, at least you admit that you were wrong as well.
Listen, a man can admit when he was wrong, right?
Sure.
Not often, but I'll, do it just because you only scored 55%.
Whoa. We could at least round that up to 60%. Let's stay positive.
You know what? Actually, hang on. I'm going to get my pen here. 1 second here.
Uh-oh.
My pen. And I'm going to round you down to 52.5%. So that's 52.5%. And from my Boston Public School education, that's not a passing grade, my friend.
That's pretty bad. That's pretty
really bad.
I can't believe you.
I'm just glad I could drag all that trash right back out to the limelight to show that, again, middling, 52.5%. How could you do that to the people?
You know what?
How could you do it?
We listen. I'm getting sick and tired of your nonsense here. What matters most is I got more right than I got wrong, and that's enough of this. We got a fantastic guest. She's been hanging on the line here, so let's bring her on. That's right, listeners. You've been clamoring for it, and we got her here. Chelsea, the Rasslin Femme, welcome back to Duke Loves Rasslin.
Hey, how are you doing? Thank you for that awesome intro. I'm not that awesome. I'm sure not that many people wanted me back on.
Oh, you stop it.
Do you know how much mail we have to go through? Do you have an idea that it's like a Miracle on 34th Street? They just bring in burlap sacks full of mail saying, "Bring Chelsea back."
We want Chelsea.
Goodness.
We want Chelsea.
That's right.
That's all we hear. I'm telling you.
I'm flattered. I'm so flattered.
See? So what's been going on, Chelsea?
My gosh, between my full-time job working at a wedding venue and my part-time job of watching professional wrestling for 10-plus hours a week, I've been so busy. It's so funny. I had the craziest thing happen the other day at work. I work in weddings. Oh, yeah, this is a story for you, Duke. So I was at a wedding the other day, and I had a guest who was having a couple of drinks, a few drinks from the open bar, and he got lost. And so the bride and groom started freaking out, and, just being a good venue manager, I checked underneath the tables, because why not? And lo and behold, this guy was passed out underneath the table at a wedding with, DJ music blasting. He had his hand in a bowl of coleslaw that he was eating with his hands, and it was all over his face. And
What?
I was like, okay, so, yeah, I get paid to do this. This is my life. This is why wrestling is a good escape for me from my real life.
All right, wait a minute. There's a lot wrong with this story.
So many things.
How do you get lost at a wedding? Usually it's in one big room. That's the first thing. I mean, I like to have a cocktail or two, but I've never got lost in one giant room. Secondly, how do you mix alcohol with coleslaw, Duke?
Oh, I mean, that must have been the most amazing coleslaw in the history of coleslaw.
It goes super well with gin, if you didn't know that.
Oh yeah, I bet.
What is
Just
going
the
on?
floral notes of the mayonnaise.
Oh.
And how?
Yeah.
And what's the temperature like down where you guys are?
So I'm in Charlotte, so really at this time of year it's pretty hot. It's
Yeah.
been hot.
So
sweating,
you're a little dehydrated. The coleslaw's been sitting on a little bit. The booze is now mixed with it in your stomach, and you're under a table at a wedding reception.
Exactly. He's living the dream. I'm really
Oh, my
It sounds
goodness.
Like a lot more fun than I'm having.
To be honest, he might be having a better time than me being stuck here with Mr. Wrestling and having to argue about who's right and who's wrong.
Do you hear this guy?
Hey, that was a very interesting back and forth. I mean, I think I did a lot better than Duke, though, to be quite honest.
Oh,
Yeah. Wow.
So I'm not the only one.
Okay.
That's why I'm glad she should be on the show every week.
We got a tough crowd here tonight, folks. You hear these two tag teaming, okay? I'm going to start acting like I'm Big Van Vader, and I'm going to make the referee do a 5 count. It's going to be a squash match in a second. All right, that was random. What else do you got for us here, Chelsea?
So really, I'm so excited to talk with you about this huge weekend we just had in professional wrestling. I can't wait to talk all things. I mean, TakeOver, SummerSlam, we've got so much to talk about, Duke. What do you got for me?
Oh, my goodness. Let me tell you something. I can't remember a more exciting weekend of pro wrestling. I mean, I've been on cloud 9 since SummerSlam weekend. I'm not going to get off here. So
there's a lot going on, for sure.
Oh, my goodness.
So many things happening in the last 36 hours,
So much. Listen, let's jump right into it here, and we'll start with NXT TakeOver Brooklyn Part 2. Ember Moon, what did you think of her debut?
So, obviously now that the women's division of NXT was kind of picked over with the draft, which is what we talked about last time I was here, I really think that Ember Moon is needed on the NXT roster because they are hurting for obviously they've got Asuka, but they need someone to foil that. because they've really shown that Asuka is so dominant. They're going to need someone to be able to go up against her pretty soon.
Absolutely.
So I think Ember Moon is someone that's going to be able to do that with a little bit of refinement. Her character is unique. Her look is obviously very unique. I loved her attire, to be honest with you. I thought that was really a neat way to debut. And obviously the match, was in her favor, so it looks like we're going to be seeing quite a bit more of her.
You bring up some great points there. And in fact, everyone out there listening, if you head over to Duke Loves Rasslin on Facebook, head over to our fan page, I'm going to put up a match that Ember Moon and Billie Kay had going back at least about 5 or 6 years ago on the independent scene. So these ladies actually know each other very well, and they've wrestled each other for a long time. The ending sequence when Ember Moon does the Stone Cold Stunner, the swinging Stone Cold Stunner from off the top rope, they actually did the same exact match-ending sequence back on the independent scene against each other at least 6 years ago.
I didn't know that, actually. You taught me something today.
It's amazing. Head over to Duke Loves Rasslin over on Facebook. I'm telling you, even the Wrestling Femme here, she didn't even know about this. You see that?
Know.
I'm telling you, you'll see something interesting. So this was a great debut for her, and I agree with you 100%. Ember Moon is definitely someone to watch out there. Now, we got to talk about the Revival.
Of course.
Are they the best damn tag team in the world not named New Day?
I love them, and I'm so happy that they've kept them down, and they've kept the Revival down in NXT because, again, just kind of like after the draft, things changed up so much, and they really need some of these people that have proven themselves over the past few years to keep things playing down there in Florida. So I really think the Revival is one of those examples. They're a phenomenal team. I love the no splits, just fists.
That's right.
I love that, and I think that they're really they follow their character through every form of social media. I actually have tweeted with them back and forth a little bit, and they still they are as cocky and as arrogant as they are on television, on Twitter as well, and I think that's so great.
So wait a second, you're palling it up with the Revival now, huh, Chelsea?
Of course. They're actually from North Carolina. So I tweeted at them. Gosh, it was like about a month each one, Golf and Dash. And I actually got responses back from both, and they're like, "Thanks for the support, North Kakalaki." I'm like, they get me. So
nice.
It was good. They're nice guys, but they definitely are intense. And I think that when they actually kind of remind me of the Basham brothers. So random. Maybe it's the bald heads, but anyway, when they go up to the main roster, I think they're going to be changing things quite a bit. We have so many theatrical tag teams up there. Breezango, the Usos with their paint. I think that they're going to be a force to be reckoned with when they finally get up to the main roster because they are no BS at all.
These guys, and it's interesting, you just taught me something I didn't know. You said they're from the North Carolina area.
Yes.
That is NWA territory right there.
Exactly.
All right, so back in the 80s and in the 90s when these guys were growing up, they got a chance to see the Four Horsemen, specifically Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard as a tag team. And I'm telling you, when I see the Revival do their thing, all I think about is Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard.
They're great. They remind me as well. And I think they are going to be something that we've seen before back in the 80s and we need back again in this new era. They're going to bring that classic style back to the new era, which I think is just as important as things we haven't seen before.
That's right. We don't need all these flippy moves all over the place. Like they said, no flips, just fists. That's right, Chelsea. You tell them. See? Now, listen, speaking of no flippy moves and somebody who knows how to work, is Asuka. Is she the most unstoppable force in NXT?
Well, I think she's the most unstoppable woman, but I don't think she's the most unstoppable superstar down in NXT. I'm going to save that for, we're probably going to have this conversation in a minute based on how that card went down at TakeOver 2.
Okay.
But I do think I do think she's the most unstoppable female right now. But like I said before, though, Ember Moon is going to be a challenger for her, a strong challenger. But obviously, I had a feeling Asuka was going to beat Bayley. It was pretty obvious to me that they weren't going to put the belt back on Bayley again, and I'm not surprised at all that Asuka won. But I really think that her streak might be ending soon now that we have a new female force on the team in December.
Wow, that's a pretty big prediction you have there.
Oh yeah,
wow.
I take my predictions seriously. So
I'll tell you, the thing that I love about Asuka is that she looks so real. I mean,
she does.
Everything she does in that ring, it's not unsafe, mind you. Some of these folks are, they're unsafe. They injure their opponents all the time. She just she lays it in and she makes it look snug and real, and that's why it's easy to buy into her character.
And she's different. Her look is completely different. Even her entrance, her music, her mask. I mean, I think that, that obviously, Asian wrestling, different countries over in Asia, that's a huge, huge thing for American fans to see. And I think that it was really smart of NXT to bring her into their brand because obviously it's showing a different style. Like you said, strong style from a female wrestler, I think is super important for the fans to be able to witness. So
Absolutely.
That's great.
Absolutely.
She's great at that.
Speaking of strong style, we got to talk about the king of strong style,
Of course.
Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, he had a stiff match with Samoa Joe where Joe's jaw was actually dislocated. Now, what did you think of that match, first of all?
Well, the match was amazing, but honestly, my favorite part was the entrance, Nakamura's entrance, because the violinist who I did some research on, I actually watched a couple of interviews that he had done, Lee England Jr., he was absolutely amazing.
Oh.
I was enthralled with the violin. I knew, as soon as I saw a violinist, I was like, all right, I know it's coming. It's going to be a pretty dramatic interpretation of the theme song, but just combined with the lighting and Nakamura's energy, I thought the entrance was so great, and what a foil to Samoa Joe's entrance.
Oh, yeah.
So theatrical, and I really enjoyed that. It really set the tone of the match for me.
Something, since you brought it up, folks, head over to Duke Loves Rasslin over on Facebook. Head over to our fan page. I'm going to put up a video of Nakamura's entrance from NXT TakeOver Brooklyn Part 2, where you can see exactly what Chelsea's talking about. Lee England Jr., this guy is a trained violinist who is on the Jordan brand. We're talking about Michael Jordan, okay? He's one of just 4 non-athletes who's supported by the Jordan brand. That's how good this guy is. He did the entrance for Shinsuke Nakamura at TakeOver. You got to check it out. So you thought the entrance was great. What did you think of the match?
Even better. I really have been a fan of Shinsuke as soon as he stepped foot onto the NXT roster. And I alluded to it earlier. You asked me if I thought Asuka was the most unstoppable. No, I think Shinsuke Nakamura is the most unstoppable being in NXT. He actually, cut a promo where he basically said, I beat Sami Zayn, I've got to beat Finn Balor, and then I've got to beat Samoa Joe. And he's done that. He's done everything that he said he's going to do, and he's done it well. And I am so entertained by him. He obviously cares. He's been working on his English. I mean, he really is a good champion, and I'm so glad that the belt was taken off Samoa Joe. I think it was just his reign was good, but I really needed something new. The storyline of Joe was kind of flat for me. He went with some wrestling Finn Balor. I mean, gosh, how many times did they have main event? I mean, it was at least 3 or 4 times on the takeovers where they had their match series, and I was like, all right, I'm ready for something new. And then when they put the belt on Nakamura, I'm like, even better, something super new. So I'm really happy for Shinsuke. I think we're going to see a new, obviously a strong style champion. I think it's going to be really entertaining, and I'm very excited to see who they end up setting him up with for his next opponent.
That is going to be something to watch, absolutely. Now we got to move on to SummerSlam. What did you think of the Sasha Banks and Charlotte match?
Well, definitely really surprising. I mean, I'll touch more on what I thought of the overall show of SummerSlam, but this specific match, it really, for me, I was expecting a little bit more out of it. I could tell something was up with Sasha pretty early on. I could tell she wasn't at 100%. And then when the match finish happened and Charlotte won the belt back, I had a feeling that it had something to do with the condition of Sasha Banks, because you could just tell by watching her. There were a couple spots in that match that just didn't look right. And then I learned right after the show, I was looking on a couple of websites, and I learned that she actually is injured. Her back is actually injured.
So Sasha Banks, you're saying Sasha Banks had a back injury?
Yes, and really, from what I understand, obviously they just put the belt on her a couple weeks ago. We know, especially with these kind of feuds that build up over time, like Charlotte and Sasha, it was pretty obvious that was not the plan to have Charlotte win the belt back, but I think they needed to take it off Sasha for her to heal, because injuries are running rampant right now in wrestling. Wow,
yeah, you're telling me. And let me tell you something, and I have to admit this. I sent out a very strongly worded series of tweets to Vince McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, and Triple H concerning taking the title off of Sasha Banks. I was just beside myself over this, okay? It was ridiculous to me that the women's champion, Sasha Banks, who's just getting rolling, you take the title off of the boss? Are you kidding me?
Well, I mean, I think, though, WWE at this point, they have had so many superstars, Daniel Bryan, for example, that have had their careers cut short by injuries, and I think that they're playing it safe. It means a lot to me as a woman that they're caring enough about one of their superstars to let them have time to recuperate. I think that's really important. Obviously, for the fans, I'm a Sasha fan. For us, it's disappointing. But if we want to continue to see her on our screen for 10 years from now, I think this was necessary. So I'm actually kind of glad it happened, even though it wasn't the optimal result for anybody.
Can I just jump in here for a second?
Uh-oh.
I'm following along and I'm listening and I'm enjoying the conversation. And then Duke says, I sent a series of strongly worded tweets to Vince McMahon, Triple H, and Stephanie McMahon.
I'm sure they were
did.
favorited.
Well, regardless of that, he knows that the both of us are afraid of getting our asses kicked by those three people. By those three people. Real, virtual or real. I don't know. We don't know. They could be on the brink with all that's going on here.
It's true.
They're just looking for someone to unleash upon.
They got a lot of money.
What do you think he should be sending these strongly worded tweets? I just had to get that out there because just to let that go by would have been ridiculous.
See, my tactic is to retweet strongly worded tweets, so it's not really my
good,
fault.
right. See, learn something, Duke. There you go.
Listen,
plausible deniability.
Let me tell you something. I don't care if they run the universe because they have the universal title and all that good stuff there.
Please.
Okay?
Please.
You don't take the title off of Sasha Banks. All right, Jack? She's the boss. She representing Boston. She's Snoop Dogg's cousin. Come on now, Jack. I'm telling you, she better be injured because if she's not, and you had the audacity to take the belt off of her. Yeah, I'm talking to you, VKM. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Stephanie. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Hunter. Just understand that the Duke is not happy.
Well, first name basis. You hear that, Chelsea? First name basis. He's really angry.
All right, I'm fired up.
All right, I'm glad. I'm just wanted to get to the bottom of that. You guys can get back to your civil conversation.
See? Listen, Chelsea, you got to back me up on this stuff here, okay?
Well, I do back you up with the sentiment, but if she is really hurt, we've got to keep that in consideration too. So
okay,
I don't hope she's hurt, but I hope that's the reason why the title change happened, if that makes sense.
But if she's not, I'm gonna do a Chris Jericho right now. I'm just gonna say one word. It. All right. Moving on. Were you surprised that AJ Styles went over? Not only did he beat John Cena, but he went over clean.
I'm not surprised at all. I think that was that was actually my favorite match of the night. I think many people agree with me. SummerSlam was a very interesting pay-per-view this year, but that match really brought it home. Obviously it took place kind of in the middle of the show, so it was really a much-needed pick-me-up for that last big chunk of, pretty much the whole main event segments at the end. But that match really brought it home for me. I'm a John Cena fan. We talked about that last time, but I think it was a great call to have AJ Styles go over and cleanly because it's proving to the WWE universe that he is the next guy. He's the next face that could run the place. John Cena's had his time. And I was actually listening to, I think it was a Chris Jericho podcast this morning, and he was saying how John Cena will do anything for Vince McMahon. Like he will lie down on the mat, and he'll take a clean, submission, and he'll get pinned, whatever, if it's going to improve the company. And I think Cena was probably completely supportive of this decision, because it's AJ's time, and Cena's going to just help wherever he can. So I loved the match. It was, I was going to say phenomenal, but that's just kind of a pun when we're talking about AJ Styles.
Well, hey, listen.
It really was phenomenal.
Listen, the fact of the matter is, John Cena is not even half the man that AJ Styles is, which is why he lost the match. Okay, and
left his little headband in the middle of the ring.
He left his headband. That's right. Wasn't that awesome? And AJ picked it up. He was a gentleman and picked it up.
Sure as heck did. If he didn't pick it up, I would have been upset.
That's right. So listen, John Cena, because I know you're listening to the Duke Loves Rasslin podcast. It's okay when somebody better than you beats you. Okay. It's okay, my friend. You can come on the podcast and you can explain to all the fans how a better man won.
Or beat you up.
Oh, yeah. Well,
And while you're at it, John Cena, while you're at it listening to the podcast, I am here, Wrestling Femme. I would love to talk to you.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure.
You know about it.
She'd love to talk to you, go out for a cocktail.
Yeah,
I'm a brunette.
Yeah, just don't bring Nikki. Yeah, I see what's going on. Yeah, I see what's going on. All right, let's move on before Chelsea ends up having a Bella twin take her out here.
A feud of my own.
Yeah, I'm seriously, right? Now, Finn Balor, he defeated Seth Rollins to be crowned the very first Universal Heavyweight Champion. But the next night on Raw, he had to relinquish the title because he was injured during the match. Now, look, I'm not going to even talk to you about the injury specifically because I know that's something that we're going to be beating like a dead horse. Let's talk about the match. What did you think about the match itself, Chelsea?
Well, this obviously hits close to home. I'm a big Finn Balor fan. First of all, dude, before I get into it, I'm just glad that you're pronouncing his name correctly now. I had to fool you on that.
God,
I had to.
You just can't give me an inch, can you?
Well, it's because he's finally got an Irishman here to help him out.
That's right.
So let's just put that on the record.
Between Mike and myself, we've got it under control now.
Oh,
but
boy.
Regardless,
I guess you can teach an old dog new tricks, right? Here we go. Yeah.
I'm good at that.
Yeah, nice. Whoa.
But the match was good. I thought the match was actually, to be honest with you, I wasn't thoroughly impressed. Like, I would probably give it like a 7 out of 10 if I were rating the match.
Oof.
There were a couple of good spots, but to be really, really frank with you, this sounds kind of hypocritical because I'm a Finn Balor fan, but it was the same spots that he's done, in every match I've ever seen him do. I mean, he always does the flip over the rope. He always does the coup de grace. He always does the Pele kick. I mean, I was kind of wanting something a little bit more just unique, I guess. I mean, obviously he had the demon gimmick on, but we saw that last week on Raw. So I don't know. It was just a little anticlimactic for me, especially for a match that was determining a new champion. So the match itself, I mean, wasn't my favorite. It wasn't bad by any means, but AJ Styles and Cena had just killed their match before. So I kind of was expecting something, on that upward, curve, but not really sure I got that, if that makes sense.
No, hey, you were speaking my language here because let me tell you something. On paper, Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins, okay?
Dream match.
That's a dream match. That's an ultimate dream match, and these guys just didn't deliver. But I'm going to give Finn the benefit of the doubt because Rollins, with his, what some would say, what Bret Hart would say, unsafe self, Rollins injured Balor, so maybe that was part of the reason why he wasn't 100% in that match there.
Well, to speak for Finn, I knew something was wrong. I could just tell.
Yep. Because you what did you use your telepathic powers there, got in his brain?
I just felt the energy.
A woman knows.
From afar. But I could just the pace.
That's her man. She
That's
knows.
her man, yeah.
I'm a Balor club.
You don't discriminate. You'll go from the Revival to Cena to Balor. You just.
I love everybody.
I guess.
I'm like Bailey. I'm a hugger.
You're a hugger.
But I knew something was up. I could tell that the pace of the match, the tone changed pretty quickly. And then when I saw, I guess it was later that night, but I saw the video of the actual injury, and Finn popped his shoulder back into it. I mean, it was disgusting. It was like that French vaulter gymnastics level weird that I saw on that video. It was crazy. It was, I don't know. And the fact that he finished the match, I mean, no X's were thrown up. I mean, he did his job and he did it well. And the outcome was obviously upsetting 24 hours later, but everything happens for a reason. So we'll see how he comes back even better. I know he will. Well,
yeah. I mean, listen, Finn Balor, we know you're listening to it because you have a lot of time on your hands now. You listen to the Duke Loves Rasslin podcast with the Rasslin Femme and the Boston Bad Boy.
John Cena doesn't need to. Actually, I'd rather have Finn Balor listening to the podcast. John Cena can, do you
think they all get together and listen together?
I'm pretty sure
they all hang out and have dinner and then listen.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Not on their own. But
especially because the Rasslin Femme is on the show. I'm pretty sure they're listening.
That goes without saying.
Pretty hardcore here. So listen, Finn Balor, we want you to get well, our friend. We definitely feel a lot for you. We understand that you were punished by being put in the ring with that unsafe Seth Rollins, okay? And he took you out, which who knows why. But get well, Finn Balor, and you're welcome to come on the show anytime, my brother. That's right. That's right. Now, Chelsea, what in the world is going on with that whole Brock Lesnar-Randy Orton fiasco of a match. I mean, you had Lesnar who mounted Randy Orton. This big behemoth of a man mounts him, and then he rained down his elbows onto Randy Orton's skull. There was blood everywhere. I mean, was this planned, or did Lesnar cross the line?
Forgive me for laughing, but the way you said a big behemoth of a man mounted Randy Orton, I almost lost.
Yeah, this is a family show, dude.
Yeah, right.
This is we don't work blue.
Is that are we PG at this point or
Or
what?
borderline.
I almost lost it. Sorry. Back to reality here.
Yeah.
So, really, so I already mentioned before how I wasn't too impressed with the Finn Balor-Seth Rollins match, and then we had, the segment with Roman Reigns and Rusev, which was a bust as well. And then we have the main event, and then it ends in this way, and I'm like, wait a minute. Like, the whole show just took a downward turn after AJ Styles and Cena, and this was like the pinnacle of the whole show. This is what everybody's been building up to. This was the first match announced months ago. And then, and all of a sudden, Randy Orton is legitimately busted open. And I read stuff on the internet that apparently this was like a work shoot. Brock Lesnar was supposed to give an elbow to Orton, but I think he kind of underestimated his power because we saw what happened.
Oh, my goodness. It was just gushing blood all over the mat. I mean,
it was disgusting. I mean, it was gross.
Yeah, Jesus.
I used to love, back in the day, I used to love the hardcore matches. Like, I was a sucker for, Mick Foley and thumbtacks and the barbed wire baseball bat. I love that. But I think that we've become, as fans, so accustomed to not seeing that anymore. We're not. It's not that way anymore.
Yeah.
So when that happened, and that was the fade to black, that was the end of the show.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't feel comfortable with it. I wasn't excited for the next step in that storyline. I was just kind of turned off, and it kind of was a very disturbing ending to an anticlimactic show.
Yeah, I think you guys are overthinking it. I think the real problem here is the juice.
Yeah,
I think that's a bit of a rage, which ties into my point from last week.
Oh no! Are you trying to say that in a steroid-fueled rage, Brock Lesnar took things too far on Randy Orton?
He busted the guy's head open.
Oh yeah, well.
Where's that part written down that happens? Look at all the other matches.
Well,
no one else had their head pounded in.
Apparently the technical knockout part wasn't. That was actually supposed to happen. But I think what ended up happening was Brock just didn't realize what he had done. Like, I think he just overdid it.
Yeah, he's in a rage.
Really
a roid rage, yeah.
In a roid rage.
Chelsea, you're not helping the situation here. You're agreeing with the Boston Bad Boy.
I agree with both of you guys. I think that, obviously it wasn't the way any of us really would have liked to have seen the show end. I don't think.
No.
Definitely not for me. And then really, where does the story go from here?
Well, now what's this I hear about, because, first of all of our friends in the groups and the listeners who reach out to Duke Loves Rasslin on Twitter and on Facebook, they were beside themselves. I mean, I've never seen so many wrestling fans in unison completely upset over one thing that happened in wrestling, and it was that Brock Lesnar bashing Randy Orton's head open like he did. But we hear that the boys in the back were also upset as well, including, what am I hearing about Chris Jericho confronting Brock Lesnar about what he did to Randy Orton?
Yeah, I mean, something I love about Chris Jericho is that now he's a legitimate veteran. Like, he's in Big Show, Kane, Cena territory because, he's been doing this for so long, and he really is one of those guys that runs the locker room and really takes things seriously when they happen. So I heard that he actually confronted Brock Lesnar, which, as we know, is a big deal because Brock Lesnar's just going to lose it at any second. Like, I just see it in his eyes. Like, at any second, this man could just go off on anybody, and Chris Jericho had enough, guts to stand up to him. And apparently there was a pretty heated back and forth between the two. I mean, Lesnar, from what I read, was like, punch me or kiss me, which I think is just crazy.
Who he should really be going after is Vince McMahon and the establishment. Because, and again, we're bringing this back again.
Oh, no.
And you know how much I like to do that, but I don't want to beat a dead horse, till he was bloodied like Brock Lesnar did. But go after the organization. Don't get mad at the guy. He shouldn't even be in this organization.
You can't do
He should have been
that.
tested out like he tested out of UFC.
But Brock Lesnar is box office. He's big money, man. Come on.
Was the blood big money when it turns fans off like Chelsea who don't want to watch anymore?
Yeah.
People get sick to their stomach because they think it's gone too far.
What was that, Chelsea? You stopped?
I said, I was making a very bad joke because I'm not very funny as a person. I said I stopped watching professional wrestling because of this. No, but I am turned off to Brock Lesnar now.
Wow.
I mean, for real. I mean, I used to be a really big, even recently a big Brock Lesnar fan. Obviously he is one of those guys that does this job for the money. He's made that very clear.
And it's lowering the bar for everything.
It definitely cheapened the show.
Well, that's the truth, and it's hard for me to defend it. I'm trying very hard, Brock Lesnar, to defend.
Too hard.
But hey, come on, it's Brock Lesnar.
Too hard.
It's Brock Lesnar.
You're on the wrong side of history. On
Well,
this one, my friend.
I have a soft spot for Lesnar because he was a decorated NCAA champion. He made it in WWE.
What's he done for me lately? Oh, he split the guy's head open. That's right. I remember now.
Look, you're not going to get much from me over that one because that was just sick. All right.
I am going to start using that punch me or kiss me line though out in the dating world. I think that's actually. Wait a
minute.
What is going on?
This is a whole other show to talk about analyzing that line of attack. I don't know. I don't think we can advise that or condone it.
Yeah, please don't do that. I mean, unless you're trying to set them up so you can do an Oscar on them and
Dude, could you imagine in dating ever using that line on a woman? You know what the outcome would be 99.9% of the
she's
time.
gonna punch me, of course.
Right square in the face.
Chelsea probably have better luck. But,
Yeah, she'd have much better luck than either one of us. I'll tell you.
It'd work better, and if he punches me, then I'm definitely not dating him.
Oh,
well,
my
that's
goodness.
true. Yeah, that's the way you want to find out. That's smart.
See, we're getting very real here, folks. You know what? Speaking of real, The Miz and Daniel Bryan had a war of words during the SmackDown Tough Talk program. Now, Bryan called Miz a coward, which completely upset Miz to the point where he ripped Bryan a new one. Chelsea, does The Miz get a fair shake? Or, do the fans and the wrestlers, do they show him enough respect?
I really don't think they do. And I am one of those fans that I still have a hard time, discerning the line of what's real and what isn't in wrestling. And I was so confused. I mean, this promo that Miz cut was phenomenal. It was amazing. And I could not really tell if it was, planned or not. But regardless of all that, I just thought it was completely out of line for Daniel Bryan to call Miz a coward. I don't believe any professional wrestler is a coward. Anyone that puts their body on the line for this form of entertainment for someone else, how could you call that cowardly?
I know.
But really, Miz had some good points in that. He made a really, really strong case for himself. He said, I've been doing this for 10 years. I haven't had a career-ending injury. I take this seriously and I do my job safely because I want to keep doing this for a long time. And he kind of put it back in Daniel Bryan's face and was like, you're not in the wrestling ring anymore. And whether or not it's your fault or the doctor's fault or whatever, you're not a wrestler and I am. So how can you call me a coward? And I thought that was completely legitimate of a point to make.
Well, I'll tell you, I definitely sympathize a little bit with Miz, but I have to say, for him to disrespect a veteran like Daniel Bryan the way that he did.
Miz is a veteran as well.
Yeah, well, but we're talking about Daniel Bryan. All right? We're not talking about some reality TV star who stumbled into wrestling and he gets everything handed to him. We're talking about a guy who really busted his butt out there to earn everything that he got, and it was all taken away from him. Okay.
And that was one of the points that Miz made too. Was the indie, or I guess Daniel Bryan kind of said the same thing, but the indie path to wrestling. Sami Zayn, Finn Balor, Shinsuke Nakamura. Coming up through these independent promotions versus the Miz, John Cena, which you're coming through the WWE circuit. But, I mean, I think, and I disagree with you. I'm so sad to hear you say that because I think that Miz is as much of a veteran as Daniel Bryan is. I mean, they've been, maybe Daniel Bryan's been wrestling for a longer period of time, but he's not wrestling anymore, and the Miz is. The Miz is the Intercontinental Champion.
This is why I like Chelsea.
Oh, boy.
She's on my side. She's on my side.
It really, I'm not a professional wrestler. You can call me a coward. You think I'd get up on the ladder and, take these bumps like The Miz did in all these matches he's been doing? I mean, he put on one of the best matches, that Fatal 4-Way for the Intercontinental. I think it was Kevin Owens, Cesaro, The Miz. I can't remember the guy, but it was a match a couple pay-per-views ago, and it was the match of the night for me. And Daniel Bryan wasn't in that match. The Miz was. So I think that The Miz is just as much of a veteran.
What? That's enough of this. You're not going to come on this show and disrespect Daniel Bryan. I'm going to tell you that right now. We're not going to do that.
But he was a little salty. Daniel Bryan was a little salty.
Listen, Boston Bad Boy, I'm going to loosen up my tie if she keeps this up, okay?
Well, luckily I'm in the same room as him, and I agree with you, Chelsea.
Oh, my goodness. The nerve of the both of you to disrespect. Let me tell you something. I traveled from lovely Boston, Massachusetts, all the way to the city of brotherly love.
Was it uphill both ways? Was it uphill both ways?
Yeah, it was uphill both ways. I traveled all the way there just to see Daniel Bryan at his first big event at the Ring of Honor inaugural show, the very first show. So to hear anybody disrespect, put some respect on Daniel Bryan's name, all right?
Let's continue on here because I'm going to talk to you about this later on.
Oh, my God.
What? I thought I was on Duke Loves Rasslin, not talking smack episode 2.
Hey, listen. Whoa, that's right. Hey, well, you're getting it tonight, Jack, because the moment you start agreeing with the Boston Bad Boy and going after Daniel Bryan, that's when
you can't argue with good taste. She knows a winner when she sees one.
You know what, Chelsea? Excellent pro wrestling analysis, except for all the times that you agreed with the Boston Bad Boy. Okay? Now, Chelsea, if the listeners out there want to get in touch with you, how can they reach out to you?
So Twitter is the best way to reach out to me. I'm at Wrestling Femme, spelled out. Femme is Femme. I've gotten some amazing followers. You take a peek at my followers, and you'll see a couple faces on there that will impress you. I've made some new friends recently, and it's pretty cool, some of the people I've gotten to interact with through Twitter. So if you'd like to be one of those people, you should definitely hit me up at Wrestling Femme on Twitter.
And you know something, folks? Let us know. Who do you agree with, okay? Do you agree with the Duke at Duke Loves Rasslin?
Which would be the wrong thing to do.
Oh, my goodness. Or do you agree with the Wrestling Femme? That's Femme. Send us a message on Twitter. Let us know who do you agree with on this Daniel Bryan and Miz situation here. All right.
Well, I hope you're ready to lose that match.
Oh my
Thank you.
goodness. All right, you've been hanging out with this Iron Mike Pelosi too.
Listen,
much,
great minds think alike. What can you do?
Heel. I actually recently turned heel, and now you're experiencing that in real life.
Yeah, clearly, and you know what? I don't like it. I don't like it. All right.
Well, a face turn is impending if you have me back on.
Nice. You know what? We may have to do that. Let's get Chelsea the Wrestling Femme back on, and hopefully she'll be a fan favorite again. Yeah,
well, thank you. Thanks for having me, per usual. And Mike, good to talk to you. We'll have to chat later about these agreeing.
Absolutely. I will talk endlessly about it.
People that agree with me.
Oh,
that's right.
Boy. Oh boy! Listen, the Chelsea the Wrestling Femme, ladies and gentlemen, at Wrestling Femme over on Twitter. You know, she built me up and then she just tore me down. Boy,
that's what a good woman can do.
All right. Well, you know what? We're moving on here. Up next, the Boston Bad Boy has more of your listener-submitted questions, a.k.a. Ask Duke. But before we get to any of that, I want to remind you to head over to Barnyard Cheese. That's Barnyard Cheese over at 149 Avenue C between 9th and 10th Streets in New York City. Last week, I told you about the Gorgonzola Dolce, a delicious cheese. But this week, I'm back on the sandwiches. Why? Because they have this delicious sandwich. Listen to this name, Starvin' Marvin. That's the name of the sandwich.
You're saying it wrong. Starvin' Marvin.
Oh, okay. Starvin' Marvin. Excuse me. Check out these ingredients, though, since you know so much, Big Shot. Scrambled egg whites.
All right.
Smoked turkey.
All right.
Avocado.
All right.
Fresh tomato. And farmhouse-aged cheddar. All on 7-grain bread.
Now I'm starving.
Hey, stop depriving yourself. Head over to barnyardcheese.com for more info. Enjoy.
This is Scoot Andrews, the Black Nature Boy, and you're listening to Duke Loves Rasslin.
Man, you know, that Chelsea, she really knows her wrestling, huh, Boston Bad Boy?
Well, they call her Wrestling Femme, and they don't do it for nothing.
Indeed. All right, what do you have for us this week for the Ask Duke question and answer?
Well, as every week, we got to ease into this because I know you have a stance that's wrong, and I have to educate you.
Here we go again.
You watched SummerSlam, right?
Of course I watched SummerSlam, wise guy. The majority of the show is about SummerSlam weekend.
So they unveiled the Universal title, didn't they?
Yeah.
How insane was the person who put that thing together?
All right, it doesn't look that
okay,
bad.
wait a minute. You've been busting my chops about how it's a great thing. I've been telling you, giving you the real talk, that it's ridiculous, and then they help my cause by making it look ridiculous.
You know what? It's not a bad-looking belt.
The fans were booing it. They were booing. It looked like like when Wayne Newton retired from the Sands Casino in Las Vegas. They gave him something that looked like that as like a retirement gift. It's hideous.
Where do you come up, Wayne Newton? Where do you come up with this stuff? I mean seriously.
All right, Liberace. I'm thinking gaudy, ugly, over the top. Out of touch.
Are you going to ask a question? Or are you going to continue to trash the Universal
I'm doing
title?
both. I'm doing both. The title's ridiculous, and every time it gets mentioned, every time it's shown to the fans, it's booed. No one likes it, and I'm proud to say that I led the charge on this.
Oh, good job. Good job. Oh, my goodness. Folks, this guy just...
I'm not going to rest until it's gone.
He just can't... He keeps beating the dead horse on this Universal Championship.
Who is the longest... Who is the person who's held the Universal title the longest?
Well, there's only been one Universal Champion. That's Finn Balor.
And who's held it the shortest now?
Well, he had to relinquish the title less than 24 hours
Let's make
later.
it a perfect threefer and make him the guy the only person to ever hold the title ever. Because they're just going to get rid of it. It'll be logged in the book somewhere, and then we move on.
Folks, I do not sanction the craziness that's coming out of this man's mouth.
How's it crazy if an arena full of people agree with me?
Oh boy,
I don't see people, cheering this and cheering your positions.
Were you at the arena?
You're giving me agita.
Were you at the arena and you were encouraging the fans to boo the title?
I was tallying all the people agreeing with me, and I ran out of paper.
Great.
All right. We'll move on to the questions.
Yeah, thanks.
This one, the first one, comes from Patrice Loves Bergeron.
Oh, is that Patrice Bergeron, the hockey player? What's going on here?
I don't know. Would the hockey player put Loves? Is it the middle name?
Hey, he loves himself. Who knows?
I love hockey, though. By the way, if I could just take it's another violent sport. Imagine that.
Well, we are in Boston, so
it's sort of you're born with it.
That's right.
All right. Bret Hart has mentioned many times that Seth Rollins is unsafe in the ring, and we know you were mentioning this earlier. You do agree with that, don't you?
You know, I do. And hey, Seth Rollins, I know you're listening, and you're not going to be too happy about this. Let me preface this comment by saying I like Seth Rollins. I think he's a tremendous talent. I celebrate Seth Rollins' success. With that said, he ended Sting's career. He broke John Cena's nose with a knee. And now he injured Finn Balor. He did that foolish corner powerbomb move there, and not only did he separate Balor's shoulder, but it was a torn labrum. He's out indefinitely. So, yeah, Seth Rollins, he's got to change up his style or something, man, because I'm not feeling it when he's taking out the biggest stars going.
Is there any not paperwork, but is there any system or in place for if these guys go too far? Do you think that on the corporate side, obviously guys are going to work stiff, they're going to go easy, within a margin. Is there a point where it goes too far?
Well, you can be fined. You absolutely can be taken off of television and what have you.
But does that happen? I mean, do you think that that's going to be happening more now? I mean, we've been, with Chelsea was talking about that it might be getting a little bit, out of hand here.
It's a good question. I wouldn't be surprised. Does the WWE, do they have to talk to their guys to change up their style a little bit? Honestly, I would love to see it because it's getting dangerous out there.
And can they make the argument that guys are working too stiff, yet let a guy like Brock Lesnar work on juice?
Oh boy,
listen. This is a logic. Follow my logic here.
Yeah.
They've painted themselves in a corner.
They have. I have to agree. They have.
You have to agree. I'm going to take this piece of tape, and I'm just going to play it every time I say something. You saying, I have to agree. I have to agree.
Put yourself over again. Every week this guy's putting himself over. Folks.
It's what I do.
It's what you do.
And because I'm right.
Yeah, ask the next
question.
Jeez.
Comes from Billiam C. Billiam C. It sounds like a vitamin. Billiam C.
Billiam. Is that
Billiam?
Is that Bill and William?
Yeah, I think it is. But
Billiam.
Try all new Billiam C. if you're suffering from nasal allergies.
Yes. Yes.
All right. His question is, everyone keeps talking about how great Bailey is for the kids, especially little girls. But something about her I really can't stand.
Whoa.
Do you feel WWE is pushing her correctly, or is there something missing that needs to be added to make her less annoying?
All right.
Now that is a question.
What is up with this Billiam C? Or do you not like?
Maybe he's on allergy medication.
Yeah, it's like, what, you don't like the little kids enjoying a pro wrestling character or something? I mean, Bailey is everyone's favorite kid sister. She puts her hair in a little ponytail, and she
great.
Wears, oh boy, you again with the ponytail. She wears the bright colors. She wears a T-shirt. I'm a hugger. Like I said last week, you got grown men with their big beer bellies wearing this purple I'm a hugger shirt. Okay, she is what a lot of folks would describe as the female John Cena. All right, she's their superhero. She's their friend. They love her. I don't have a problem with the way that the WWE is pushing Bailey up to this point because she was in NXT. Now that she's on the main roster, it would be interesting to see if her gimmick crosses over because she's on a bigger stage now. But I think as long as the kids are buying Bailey action figures and T-shirts and dressing like her and all that stuff, just leave it alone.
So you're saying it just comes down to money, so why even bother?
Well, you're a grown man. Who cares if the kids like a character? Let the kids have the character. I mean, hey, listen, when I was a young kid, Hulk Hogan said, say your prayers and eat your vitamins. So I would run around in my underwear and
okay.
And
I didn't need that visual.
Well, I'm just saying,
Come on.
I wanted
Can we move on to the next
be the
question
superhero there, So, hey, Billiam C., be nice to the kids and Bailey. Please.
All right, enough of these ridiculous questions. We're going to move on to the most important question of the evening, which is always my question.
Oh, my Buddha. Here we go. Here we go.
That's right. They don't call me the Boston Bad Boy for nothing, all right?
I'm starting to dread this part of the show.
No,
right?
because this is where you get schooled.
You just end up taking things too
You're
far.
getting informed.
Okay.
It's time for me to regulate.
Well, here we go. Yeah. Come on, Warren G. What do you got?
Warren G. Harding?
Yeah. Nice.
My favorite president. No, I don't think he was anyone's favorite president.
No, not even close. Not even
All
close.
right. My question is this. And so after SmackDown, there is the third interminable hour of SmackDown called Talkin' Smack.
Yep.
It's an interview show in case anyone hasn't caught it because they have to go feed their children or, work. They haven't caught that third hour yet. It's an interview
Just
show.
Stop it.
It's like the Today Show for really big dudes.
Yeah.
And so the wrestlers are given the open mic. They can just talk and do whatever they want as it relates to, obviously, wrestling. And Renee Young hosts it. Our friend.
Oh, all right. You're not
Your
going to
friend
bring up
and
that. Not the Renee Young thing again. All right.
But she. So all right. So this is one place where I will agree that they're using her correctly. Although I think the 1 hour of the 75 hours a week of wrestling isn't really the right thing to do.
Just stop it.
But she'd be better served on the commentary table because she might as well be on Good Morning America, and who watches that? Quite frankly.
Boy, wow!
All right,
shots fired.
So here's what I'm going to say: The Miz. All right, as we mentioned before, and we talked with Chelsea, was a guest on Talkin' Smack, and SmackDown General Manager Daniel Bryan was there. Mm-hmm. So let's just recap in case anyone skipped past that in the interview. Which, if they did, I'm going to kill them myself. So Daniel Bryan calls The Miz a coward, and he told The Miz that he represents everything that was wrong with the WWE. I'm paraphrasing here, and how there are more wrestlers in the company like Daniel Bryan. And that The Miz is sort of he's soft. He was calling him soft. He was calling him, worse than calling him soft, he was calling him a patsy. He was calling him like a company man.
It wasn't that bad.
He was calling him a company man. It was that bad.
All right.
You can watch the clip. It's on YouTube. And so Bryan worked for independent wrestling promotions all over the world for years and years and years. And the WWE is And that because he's at the WWE, it's much better off because he's this worldly guy and he did all this and he's a real wrestler. He's real. And the fury in the Miz's face, I totally agree with, because only one of these two guys is still wrestling, right? I mean, to my knowledge.
Okay.
And it's not Daniel Bryan, okay? He's been kicked upstairs because if he gets dropped on his head one more time, his eyeballs will turn to gelatin and just slowly leak out of his ears.
Oh, boy.
So he gets on live television and calls this guy a shill, basically. And not only that, he insults the WWE by saying that they're soft and they produce soft talent. Meanwhile, he's sitting there with a national megaphone and getting checks signed by Vince McMahon.
Oh,
Tell me how that works.
Oh, boy. Listen, Daniel Bryan, okay, he has busted his butt his entire life
Here we go.
to make it to his childhood dream of being in the WWE, just to see a guy like The Miz, who's on reality TV, and then he gets to just walk into the WWE.
You know what my childhood dream was? It
What's
was
that?
to be an astronaut. And you know what? I didn't even ever go to space camp. So sometimes we got to let that go.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
boy. All right, well, hey,
and
that's
you know what? He had his shot.
Oh.
He had a shot. He made it to the top of the mountain. And you know what? Maybe all his, real tough guy antics is why his spine is mostly made of like seaweed-like material now, because it's just he beat himself up too much. And how long has the Miz been in the business? 10 years? A
little over 10 years.
Plus
yeah.
10 years plus?
Yeah.
How many injuries? How many times has he been out?
The Miz has never had any major
Okay,
injury.
exactly my point. I knew that. I was just seeing if you knew
great
it.
job.
My point is, wrestling is about getting out there, putting on the show, building your brand, being there for the fans. Who's still doing it? And who has the nerve, who's not still doing it, who keeps saying, I'm going to come back, I'm going to come back, I'm going to come back, and then is so injured that the company has to say, dude, we can't take the liability here because you're just, it's just not working. They're just not liking it. You know what I mean? It's just not working for you.
With the voice and all this.
And so he's got a chip on his shoulder, and he calls out the other guy.
Okay.
That is just complete malarkey.
Let me tell you something, okay? First of all, Daniel Bryan, all right, his road to WWE stardom was built on hard times. Let me tell you something about hard times. Hard times is when you're a young man who
just a twinkle in his eye
was born with a immune deficiency. So he even has food allergies and what have you. Growing up in Aberdeen, Washington, okay, he couldn't even eat the same food everybody else. I don't even think he could even eat meat. This poor guy. So he was always malnourished. So hard times is overcoming.
You mean to tell me this guy is such a tough guy on TV, on live TV, such a tough guy, if he had a ham sandwich, that puts him out. Is that what you're saying?
I'm talking about hard times, Jack, and don't interrupt me here because I'm going to take you on a ride here, okay? Hard times is when you overcome the malnourishment and the underdevelopment. You have a dream of making it into one of the pinnacle of a business, of a career there, and you bust your butt, you travel all over the world, you bleed, you sweat, you pay the price. Hard times is when you do all of that just to make it into the company, and then a couple of weeks later, you get kicked out of the company because you did something that the producers told you were able to do, but the owner of the company didn't like it.
Them's the breaks. Them's the breaks.
Hold on. Hard times is when you get busted out of the company and you're down on your luck, but instead of giving up, you dust yourself off and you travel around the world again and you keep wrestling, you keep applying your trade. And then hard times is when you work so hard that you get invited back into the company. And then when you get back into the company, okay, you win the WWE Championship only to lose it to a guy by the name of Sheamus in less than 30 seconds at WrestleMania. That's hard times. You get busted back down. But instead of giving up, you keep plugging away. And with the fan support, even though the owner of the company doesn't believe in you, Jack, you end up making it back to the pinnacle where you're the champion again, and you have your WrestleMania moment with your whole family. Your parents are there. And then hard times is when your dad passes away a couple of days later. And hard times is when you find out that you're injured and you got to take a year off from the only thing that you've ever loved in your life other than your family. And hard times is when you make it back to the pinnacle.
You know what?
When you make it back to the pinnacle and you win the championship again, only to get injured again and told you will never, ever in your life be cleared to wrestle in the #1 corporation again, Because if you get dropped on your head one more time, you may turn into a vegetable. That is hard times. That's the Daniel Bryan story. So when he tells a punk like The Miz that he's soft, I'm sorry, Miz, you sit back and you take that, because that is a veteran that has paid his dues all over the world, letting you know what the real deal is. That's hard times, Daddy. That's hard times.
You want to know what hard times? You've completely lost the plot here, and you've lost perspective. You know what hard times is?
What?
Being born like into an iron lung or something and having to live your life like that. That's hard times. This guy he worked hard. He made it. Obviously there's ups and downs. He had a shot. He landed at the top, and you know what? Maybe he flew a little too close to the sun because he hurt his body. He did not respect the one tool that he needed to stay in the game, which was his health. Okay, and so what? Why is The Miz a punk? Why is he a punk? Because he didn't get injured? Because he's maybe more calculating in the risks he takes? That makes him a punk? And because he didn't have this, little orphan Annie sob story that got him to the top of to where he is right now? What does that have to do with anything?
The Miz is a punk because he took a low blow cheap shot at Daniel Bryan.
Wait a minute.
He went off script.
Brian went off script. Brian went off script. He was calling him. He looked the man in the eye and called him. He's a pansy. He's a pansy.
This is supposed to be pro wrestling.
Yeah,
okay?
This is supposed to be relevant to what's going on, though. This was a complete left turn out of nowhere. He took a left turn, looked the guy in the eye, and by the look on the Miz's face that he had no idea this was coming, and that this guy was just going to cut him down at the knees, and he wasn't going to let that go unanswered, and neither would you.
Oh,
so
boy.
Don't even act like the otherwise. He called him. I can't even get the words out.
Don't even go there.
No,
okay?
Yeah, because, and on top of that, he insulted the whole company, the company that pays his checks.
Oh, boy.
That's what stands out to me. Bite the hand that feeds you. You know what? Being a success is one thing. Being a man is not having that chip on your shoulder by the time you get there. That's the difference.
Listen, that chip on his shoulder is what drove him all the way to the top.
What has the Miz gone through in his real life to get to where he is? You have no idea. I don't have any idea, but you know what? I'm sure the guy didn't just, wake up one day and hop in the car and knock on Vince McMahon's door and be like, "Sir, I'd like to be a wrestler now." Wow, yeah, you're the greatest thing that ever happened.
Listen,
sure, take over.
He was a reality TV mark who got a shot at the WWE.
Well, there's a reality TV star who has a shot at being the president of the United States. What is the difference?
Okay.
What is the difference?
Yeah, you see how well that's working out.
Oh, wait, regardless of whatever you think of it politically, regardless of what you think of politically, it is a path like any other. Does the guy who buys a Triple Crown winning racehorse off of the back of hard work, is it any less worth it unless it's the guy who won the lottery and bought that horse? What's the difference?
Let me tell you something. It comes down to respect, okay? When people who have paved the way for you.
And if Brian if Brian had any respect for himself, he wouldn't let his own personal chip on his shoulder blow up his whole spot
for the entire business, which is why he's telling a guy who was handed over everything. He's letting him know that, hey, buddy, you are soft, you're a punk, you're not like the other guys.
Then why didn't he stay independent?
Okay.
Why didn't he stay independent with all the real wrestlers, all the real tough guys? Why didn't he stay? If that's the cream of the crop to him, if that's who he respects, why didn't he stay there?
Listen, the doctors won't clear him. They're afraid.
I'm talking about if he has all this integrity all of a sudden after he's a millionaire now. He has all this integrity now. He wants to speak his mind, and then can't believe it when this guy's going to rip his head off of his shoulders on live television.
Let me tell you something. You put the Miz up against Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan would knock him out. All right, that's just the real deal.
Yeah, well,
Jeff.
Not if he didn't knock himself out by breathing too hard or something.
What is going on? I don't know what's wrong with this guy, folks. He is talking about. This is the second time during this show where somebody has disrespected the great Daniel Bryan. I'm getting sick of this.
Now, here's the thing. As much disrespect as that is, and I think that is a truly, genuinely real moment, there's somebody sitting in a control room going, this works for us. And I think the conspiracy is back on.
Oh, my goodness.
Because while we're screaming at each other about this, what are we not talking about?
Boy.
The fact that Brock Lesnar punched a guy's head in because he's juiced, because the WWE failed to oversee.
You're just falling off the rails tonight, aren't you?
I'm not off the rails. This is a legitimate issue, but it is so ridiculous. It is so over the top that it has conveniently cleared the slate of all the other crap that was going on.
Yeah.
So as much as I'm going to hop on the fact that I think it's total BS that he called him out like that for no apparent reason because he's feeling guilty about whatever, a hamster that died 25 years ago and he can't get over it. I think that, on the other side of that, this is not a bad business move overall for the smart people in the room realizing, wow, we can sweep a lot of this controversy aside.
I mean, you know what, folks? When the Boston bad boy starts throwing out that conspiracy word, that's when it's time.
I have never used it more than when dealing with you in this sport. I've never,
we got to
because
pull
it's
the
rife
plug
with
here.
it.
Because there's just no way. Everything to you is a conspiracy, and I'm telling you right now, I'm Mike Pelosi. It's in your head. I think you've been subscribing to these conspiracy magazine, Paranoia magazine, or something like that.
Like I said, I do not believe in chemtrails. I do not believe in the Illuminati. Although I think if there was such a thing, the WWE might qualify to be close to, as far as having their finger in everything, as far as their own organization goes.
You know what? That's it. We got to wrap this up. Folks, thanks for tuning in this week, and I hope you really enjoyed the SummerSlam weekend review. Thanks to Chelsea, the wrestling femme, for another fantastic visit with us. Don't forget, head over to Facebook and Twitter and leave your questions and comments, especially Twitter. Hit that like button, okay? We want to get more folks there on Twitter. Also, don't forget our show is archived on YouTube, so you can hear all the past episodes there. Just search for Duke Loves Rasslin. Join us next week. We have another fantastic guest, and we'll try to calm down the Boston bad boy before he gets us into trouble. This is the Duke signing off saying, bye-bye, everybody.